Hey guys, we are back with reviewing another Wavetable board from Serdaco. Today it is the DreamBlaster X2GS SE. It has a lot of features, but the main feature is this one has samples from Roland, including an official license. So this is as close as it gets to being able to purchase a brand new Wavetable board and getting that smooth, balanced Roland general MIDI music in your favorite DOS games. Serdaco sent me this product for free. I'm not getting paid, but I do get to keep it. Here you can see me upgrading an ESS audio drive with this Wavetable board. I recorded 3 games, what they sound before the upgrade, and then how do they sound with the DreamBlaster in action. So I think this sounds absolutely lovely. But as always, what are your thoughts? Leave them down below. Now, support in DOS games is excellent. From around 1992, most games support the general MIDI standard. Let's take a closer look at this Wavetable board. SE stands for second edition. It is smaller, and this can be important if your sound card doesn't have too much space around the Wavetable header. There's a USB port, and we will be checking that out later. It lets you connect this device to a modern computer, configure and upload presets, as well as user sound fonts. We have a DAC from ESS, and the synthesizer is from Dream. Here we have some information on the ESS DAC. It's an ES9023 with 24-bit stereo and a signal-to-noise ratio of 112 decibel. And here we have a datasheet of the Dream synthesizer. It's the SAM5504B. This PDF, you can grab it from the Dream website. It's got detailed information. A lot of these, actually, I don't know exactly what it means, but if you're interested, then the information is available. We have 64 megabytes of flash memory, and they are split into 2 areas. The first one, 16 megabyte for the Roland bank, and this one is read only. The other part is 48 megabytes, and this is where you can upload user banks. So going forward in this video, I will just refer to them as the Roland bank and the user bank. We will check out presets later in this video, but I do want to mention at this point that the ESS audio drive has the stereo channels swapped with Wavetable boards. And very nifty, the preset editor lets you reverse those channels to counteract that issue. If you have the game Doom, you can launch the episode 3, level 3, and in the beginning the music should come out of the right channel. If it doesn't, then I also recommend with this device, go into the preset editor and swap those channels. And now I want to get a few terms out of the way to help understand how this works. What is MIDI? Well, MIDI is a protocol. Back in the early days, companies like Korg, Yamaha, Roland, they sat down together and defined a protocol of how keyboards and synthesizers could communicate with each other. So in a DOS game or when you play a MIDI file, it's basically a constant stream of information. When are you pressing a key? When are you letting go? How hard are you pressing it? What's the volume? And so on. There are no digital recordings, and that's why MIDI files are really small. They don't contain any digital samples like with an MP3. Wavetable boards like this one will receive this stream of MIDI information and then in real time play the music. General MIDI took things further. It's a standard to ensure that, for example, if you play a General MIDI compatible MIDI file on any General MIDI compatible wavetable board, that the music will sound correct. And there's one more term, GS, which is basically an extension to General MIDI. That's why this device has a GS sticker on the back. But for the context of playing DOS games, General MIDI is the main standard that we're interested in. And this is where things get interesting. Because General MIDI is a standard, all sorts of companies made wavetable boards, not just Roland. We had companies like Yamaha, ESS, Creative, and Sonic, and others. And while the General MIDI standard defined a lot of things, it didn't define how, for example, a piano sounded or how a drum would sound. So you could play the same DOS game on a Roland MIDI device and then on one from Ensoniq, and it would sound quite different. So with all these options available, why does it matter so much that we have samples from Roland? Well, it turns out Roland became the de facto General MIDI standard in the context of DOS games. And that is not because Roland sounded better than the other options. I'm not saying that at all. It is because of legacy reasons. I've got a few screenshots of older DOS games, and they supported something called the Roland MT32, and there were other devices like the LAPCI and the CM32L. And composers that would produce music for DOS games, well, they were already familiar with the Roland ecosystem, so by the time the General MIDI standard came out, well, they just stuck with Roland and used something called a Roland sound canvas, which was Roland's first General MIDI device. And this is the reason why in the community Roland MIDI devices are highly regarded, and the general consensus is that DOS games on a Roland MIDI device will sound very natural, very balanced, nothing out of tune, nothing out of place. And well, we have a few recordings here of some of my favorite DOS games, so you let me know what you think. So to my ears, these games sound absolutely lovely. And back in the day, I did have a Roland sound canvas. I had the Wavetable version on a Sound Blaster 16. So these games sound exactly like I remember. Here we are on the product page. You're looking at 95 euros for the DreamBlaster X2GS SE. When you place the order, you can define for the Roland bank which preset would you like. I've been recommended this one, and I had a look in the community and it received really good feedback. So all the captures were done with this preset. For the user bank, you can choose which bank you want uploaded, but there are more and we will listen to them later. The Buran bank, I would say, is the best one out of those choices. If you scroll down, there's lots of information about this product, and pay attention to these blue links. They will take you to downloading software, preset, banks, user manuals, and so on. So what I did, I clicked on all of them, downloaded all the files onto my hard drive. Very nifty are some MIDI files that you can use in MS-DOS to switch between the Roland bank and the user bank. Here we are on my retro PC, and I will demonstrate how that works. I will use the DOS MIDI player. Now, by default, it will output to the FM synth. We need to change that. There's a config file, and we can configure it to use the MPU interface on address 330. I've renamed the MIDI files because of the DOS 8-character limitation, and then you just run DOSMID followed by the MIDI file. So I'm gonna go with user mid, and then we can see the file being played, and now the DreamBlaster is using the user bank. And to switch back to the Roland bank, we just run a different MIDI file. It's as easy as that. And be aware that whenever you power cycle your computer, the default bank is always the Roland bank. There's an interesting detail about the license agreement. Warning, this product may not be installed in any musical instrument. So it is really for the purpose of playing old DOS games in a retro gaming PC. I don't see this too much of an issue because most of you are here for, the purpose of playing old games. Here we have most of the files from the Serdaco website downloaded onto my computer. I want to point out these two programs, the preset editor and the upload utility. The preset editor lets you load presets supplied by Serdaco. You can then tweak the settings, save it under a new preset, and using the loader utility, you can then upload the preset onto your DreamBlaster. There's an interesting detail worth pointing out with the presets. You can apply the preset to each of the banks separately. So if you want to load the preset onto the Roland bank, you need to use address 50,000. But if you want to load the preset onto the user bank, use 70,000. I was very happy with how the preset sounded, so I didn't do any manual tweaking, but I did have to swap the stereo because my ESS audio drive has that issue. So all I did was tick this box and then click here, activate stereo swap, and then you click on save preset, and I just saved it here with the swap stereo in the file name. And to upload this preset, change this option here to X2GS, click on the three dots, then we're selecting the preset, and then remember we need to change the address because I want to apply that preset to the Roland bank and not to the user bank. And then click update and it's finished. For the user bank, I used a different preset. This one here, PCL, that's a preset I put together ages ago. I also applied the swapping of the stereo channels. So let's apply that. And it reverts back to 70,000 for the address. That's fine. Update. And now I have two different presets applied to the Roland bank and to the user bank. And remember, we have 48 megabytes of that flash memory to upload banks. So let's do that. Click on the three dots. We can choose a bank. Let's go with the Buran bank. Press open. The address here changes. Just leave that. Click on update and off it goes. This will take a few minutes. Just be aware. And while that is uploading, I have recordings of all the different user banks for you to check out. So guys, we checked out all the features and we listened to some samples. My take on this device is I really like how it sounds, and I think it's excellent value. If you're trying to find a used Roland sound canvas on places like eBay, be prepared to look for a while and also pay a premium. So the fact that we can buy something brand new with an official license is absolutely beautiful. Does it sound 100% the same as a sound canvas? Well, it does not. So if you do an A/B comparison, you will hear some small differences, but the samples are the same. The synthesizer is different. So the DNA of the Roland music definitely shines through, and you will get that main benefit of having very balanced, natural DOS music with nothing sounding off or out of tune. You will definitely get that benefit. So if you're in the market of upgrading your FM synthesizer to something more high-end and experience general MIDI in DOS games, this is definitely a product I can recommend. At this point, you might be wondering, how does this board fit in with some of the other wavetable boards from Serdaco? So firstly, we've got the Mac Cake. This is a very unique product. It supports the Roland MT32 standard. It's very unique in that aspect on a wavetable board. It can also use sound fonts in the SF2 format, and there are a few sound fonts that try to mimic the Roland sound canvas, but they're not as accurate, and there are also no official licenses. The other product is the DreamBlaster X2GS. This one is more higher end. It has a cleaner audio output with a dedicated headphone port. It also has a more high-end synthesizer and some other additional upgrades. We will be testing that one in a future video. The X2GS costs more, so if you have the money to spend and you want the best quality, go for that one. But if you're a little bit on a budget, then the X2 is definitely a good choice. And now I'm eager to hear your thoughts about General MIDI and Roland being the de facto standard. It can lead to quite some passionate discussions in the retro PC community. And I'm not saying Roland sounds better than other MIDI devices. For example, in the game Descent, if you've got a high-end Yamaha device, it sounds absolutely beautiful. But what I'm saying is that in the vast majority of DOS games with a Roland MIDI device, you can't go wrong, and you will always get something that sounds balanced and beautiful. So there you go. That was my review on the DreamBlaster X2GS SE. Leave your thoughts down below. As always, I enjoy reading your comments on a Saturday morning with a cup of coffee. And that's it from me. If you have any video suggestions, as always, leave them down below. And I shall see you very soon with another one.